It's possible to see Elnath, a star from the Taurus constellation that was close to the Moon. But the interesting part is that we can clearly see a lava plain with no name that's kind of merged with the main crater. For me, the most complex area is at the top. However, this is not the best day to observe these minor craters inside the Sea of Crises.
Hello out there, this is planet Earth, calling.
Hello, Espressonauts! Welcome to the very first episode of our brand new series, Moon Tours. The goal here is to observe moon features in a more detailed way. To help me do this, I'm using 4 resources. The first and most important is the 21st Century Atlas of the Moon. This is an excellent lunar map containing many craters data. It's our main guide here. Second is the Backyard Astronomer's Guide. For this series specifically, we are just using one chapter of it, which is the Moon Tour for Telescopes, a very good guide for us to have a base plan for what we can see on each phase of the Moon. 50 Things to See on the Moon is a complementary book, good for background information about main features, historical name, and facts that complements our visual work. And finally, NASA's Daily Moon Guide. It provides high-resolution images of the lunar surface for each day, useful for identifying details or comparing results of our observations. For observing, I'm using my Skywatcher 8-inch Dobsonian with the stock 20mm lens and the stock cellphone adapter, recording with my Samsung Galaxy S21. For detailed observation, I'm using the ZWO ASI 662MC Planetary Camera. Also, sometimes I will try to take pictures with my old camera. Now we start observing the Moon. I was wondering when we would start to record the Moon. Most of the guides, like on the Backyard Astronomer's book, start when the Moon is 3 days old. This is also true on NASA's Daily Moon Guide. They only show features to observe after day 4. Why? The most obvious answer is that the illuminated area is very thin, making it harder to observe. But also, when the moon is less than 3 days old, it is low in the horizon. In my case, it was just 10 degrees. At this position, there is more atmospheric turbulence and air pollution, making the view blurred, looking like the telescope is out of focus or something else. That's why I would recommend leaving the 1 and 2 day old moon for just casual observations and pictures, contrasting the illuminated part with the rest of the lunar surface, like I did here. With the 3-day-old moon, we are officially starting the series. It's possible to see Elnath, a star from the Taurus constellation that was close to the Moon, making our picture a bit more special. Sometimes it is possible to see events like that. I think you already heard about lunar conjunctions with planets like Jupiter and Venus. This year I had the opportunity to record Mars and the Moon with a beginner telescope. Switching to my telescope view, you can see the blue sky behind because I recorded right when the sunset started. Our observation begins here. The first region we are observing is called Cleomedes, following the atlas of the Moon. I suppose that is because in this region specifically, there is no Mare or region to call like Mare Crisium. Switching to the planetary camera, let's try to go right to the left. The first crater we spot is Endymion. Funny that this crater isn't exactly in this region according to the atlas of the Moon, but since we can see it here, let's talk about this crater. Endymion is 125 kilometers in diameter. We will talk about it in the next videos because at this angle we can't see much detail. But the interesting part is that we can clearly see a lava plain with no name that's kind of merged with the main crater, which is not too easy to identify in the next few days. It's hard to find information about Lacus Temporis, but it's worth mentioning. For me, it starts kind of hidden, but when you realize the format, you will notice it again in every observation. This small mare is composed of 2 large, almost circular patches of plain surface. I think we can assume that this is the first mare we observed on the Moon, even if it's not widely recognized as moon mare like the others. Right below the Lacus Temporis, we found Mercurius with 64 kilometers in diameter. I can see a few other tiny craters popping out around. Besides that, I can't see much detail. Messala is 122 kilometers in diameter. Its perimeter is well defined here, but on the right side we see an open area merged with Lacus Temporis. With 83 kilometers in diameter, Geminus has an oval format, and in my case it was filled by shadows. Bernoulli is 47 kilometers in diameter. For me, it's very similar to Geminus, almost looking like brothers. Burckhardt is 54 kilometers in diameter, and I can see a clear circle. Looks like it has two other minor craters merged above and below. Cleomedes is the most beautiful crater in this region. It is 130 kilometers in diameter. Can you see that it's not a well-formed circle? It has a lot of complexity outside and inside the crater. I can notice two other craters below Cleomedes. Can you help me find these names? Please leave in the comments. Now we are moving to the region of Mare Crisium, aka Sea of Crises. Do you know this mare is the only one that's not in contact with others? Let's switch to the planetary camera again to investigate this area. This is one of the easiest features to observe, even without any equipment. The chaotic border contrasts with the plain surface of the Mare Crisium. For me, the most complex area is at the top. However, this is not the best day to observe these minor craters inside the Sea of Crises. At least in my experience, there is a small crater called Burckhardt that's easier to identify in the next few days. We can compare the size of the sea with the state of Nevada, about 176,000 square kilometers. Based on this view, Condorcet is the biggest crater on the left side of Mare Crisium, about 75 kilometers in diameter. It has a circle formed in a good shape, with no other major craters around. With 55 kilometers in diameter, Firmicus is another big crater on the left side of Sea of Crises. I can't see much detail besides the clear border. With similar size and close to Firmicus, Apollonius joined the party close to Mare Crisium, and it is 50 kilometers in diameter. These craters also have similar shapes. Having Sea of Crises close below, can you tell me the name of this region here? It's also a mare, very easy to identify, even with unaided eyes. Our first episode ends here. We have only covered half of the features of the 3-day moon, and we will continue in the next video. I hope you found the format clear, and I'm always open to feedback if you have suggestions for improvement. Thanks for watching, I hope you learned something useful today. See you next time.